Jane Marshall, the current president of OCNA, and our volunteer board is Kevin Ham, our creative director, Lane Stewart, he's our treasurer, Kurt Busk, he's our VP, we're missing Joe Gallagher.
He's out of state for graduation.
Okay, and then we're also Pat Charlini, she coordinates our newsletter distribution. Wow. A couple of announcements beforehand. I don't know if many of you all go to the Brooks Theater, but I have a new schedule here of their upcoming events. In fact, right now they have a very hilarious show going on about the Putnam County Spelling Bee. It is hilarious. So if you want to have some fun, walk on over to the Brooks Theater, get your tickets online, and I'll leave this up at the front, and you can take a look at it if you want, or you can probably see it online too. Also, I don't know if you guys realize, but Oceanside is one of the 14 cultural districts in California. So what the downtown, especially the downtown area, is we are focused on getting grant money and dispersing that out through the communities so that we can improve the arts and culture, style, look, feel, and opportunities for artists, Oceanside artists. So it's an interesting thing. There's a new brochure back there. You all probably got this map about the sewer and the water drains and the map of what's happening. It came out in the mail. If you haven't, I'll leave it back there. And then there's a bunch of stuff happening. For instance, we have a book sale, June 20th. I'll leave these back there. We have the Filipino Cultural Celebration, June 13th, down at the plaza. We have, tomorrow, you could go to an AI optimization at the library, free. You could learn all about AI tomorrow. And then Main Street has a bunch of stuff. For instance, at the Civic Center Library, there's going to be a history about Oceanside / the U.S. for 250 years. And that's on June 27th, 5 to 7 p.m. at the library. And then on the 27th, you all know, we're going to have the big Independence Parade, right? And after that, that's from 10 o'clock. Of course, they shut down some of the streets, right? So they line up everybody. And then after that, down at the amphitheater at noon, they're going to have this big 250 USA birthday bash. So music, food, entertainment, all kinds of stuff. Don't miss it. And then July 2nd, there is the Sunset Market, of course. It's 4th of July, Star Spangled Market. And then July 3rd is the fireworks, right? We don't have them at the pier anymore, so you can take the Sprinter, easy peasy, down to Oceanside Rancho stop, get off, get back on, miss all the traffic. So put that on your calendars, and I'll leave these over there on the table. Tonight we have a couple of great guests. First of all, Michael Gossman, he's the assistant city manager right here, and he's a frequent speaker because he is in charge of a lot of different things that are happening. And as you know, we always try to get the originator here to tell us the real story. So he's going to talk about this proposed something. He'll talk about it. And then also we have the illustrious Michelle Gallagher, who brings all these new businesses to Oceanside. And as soon as someone will say, oh my God, that company went out of business or that restaurant went out, she's got a plan for it. So we're going to hear about both things that are happening downtown, and of course a little bit about some of the hotels that she knows of because it's an ever-moving target. So without further ado, Michael Gossman.
Applause, that's pretty rare. I often get an applause. I'm not Michelle Geller. Ignore that. She's coming up next. I'm the other MG, Michael Gossman, Assistant City Manager. So, yeah, I'm here to talk about capital infrastructure projects, funding for those projects, and we'll just get into it. So in March, the City Council hosted a CIP, or Capital Improvement Program workshop, where we talked about all the projects that we have that are going, but also the projects that we don't have, that we don't have funding for. And there's actually over $500 million in unfunded capital infrastructure projects in the city of Oceanside. But there's some priorities that I think will be near and dear to your hearts, and I'll share them. These are really the top priorities. Beach, which is I talked about it last time that I was here just a month ago, but Beach is this really cool project. If you're not aware of it, not everybody loves it, but it is a project that is designed to bring sand back to our beaches. And there's $35 million in construction costs associated with that we don't have funding for. So we have a plan, we have design in the works, we're working on permitting, but we don't have the money for construction. We also have our Pier View Bridge. Our Pier View Bridge, as you know, is almost 100 years old. It needs to be replaced. Nothing lasts forever, especially when you put it near the ocean. That is a $67 million project. We've put aside actually $25 million for that, but we still have a funding gap. We're looking for all kinds of funding from the state and the feds. We just received $2 million for design, but that is not the full cost of what that needs. Without a Pier View Bridge, the concrete portion of the pier, you don't have a pier. You have to have that. If you look closely, you may not want to look too closely. In other words, there's parts of it that looks like it's falling. So that is serious. Our pavement management program, right now we're putting money into our pavement management program, and we're able to maintain the grade that our roads currently have. But unfortunately, that grade is probably a C- to a D if you go overall. If we want to actually start moving up into the C's and the B's and the A's, we need to start putting an additional $5 million into those roads to make strides, and that would make a big difference. Two other ones, fire station number 8 is up in this, it's down in the southeast corner of our city. It is in a leased space in an industrial building. So we're paying $93,000 a year to be in a space that's really not designed as a fire station. It doesn't fit the apparatus that we need. It doesn't meet the needs of a modern fire department. And then lastly, a large project is the replacement of our Oceanside Police Department headquarters. Now, you don't often think about your Oceanside Police Department headquarters. You may not go there. You think about cops in cars and on the street. But the headquarters that we have now was meant to be temporary. That was in 2001. So 25 years ago, we moved into temporary headquarters and we're still there. Those headquarters are a former grocery store and a former Miller's Outpost. Not designed to be a police department, hasn't kept up with the growth of the police department, and certainly hasn't kept up with the needs of a modern police department and the technology that police department has. For example, we actually have to park police cars outside, like in non-gated areas, because we just don't have the capacity to keep cars. So that is a problem. It's not the most exciting thing to fix, but it is a legitimate need that any modern city needs. So when we talked to council about this at the March workshop, they asked us to explore different ways to fund these programs, and that's what we've been doing. We've just been exploring various ways, and obviously that's where the T word has to come up, which is taxes. And we looked at 2 different types of taxes and to see what the feeling was in the community. And that's what I'm here tonight too. I want to hear feedback. I want to hear people's thoughts. One was a bond measure, which is where the cost is essentially borne by property owners. It's like the school bonds. People vote them in, they show up as a line item on your property tax bill, and that's how the debt is repaid. That, in a survey that we did with a pollster out of Encinitas, who's done a very good job for us, meaning he's very accurate in the things that he's looking at, and the questions that he asks, and he asks tough questions to make sure that we get good results, and that was very unpopular. There was no way that is likely going to pass. People don't want that. The other one is a 50-cent sales tax that would last 10 years. It would be a general sales tax, but it would be focused on those projects that I previously talked about. That would need approval of 50% of voters plus one, over 50% of voters. It would not be levied on things like groceries, medicines, diapers, things that are carved out in state law as necessities. And another fact that people don't necessarily know about sales tax in general is that 63% of the taxes are actually paid for by non-residents. So that's sort of where we are with that. That actually polled pretty well. But we're not going to jump into this without really knowing what people want. So one of the things you might have gotten in the mail, and you might have seen it as a flyer like this. And there's a QR code associated with this. We've got results that way, but you can also mail in your thoughts. And if your thoughts are no new taxes, go to hell, you can send that in. That's fine. We'll take that feedback. We want that feedback. But we've got 800 physical copies back. So people are sharing their thoughts and opinions of where they'd like to see priorities and the money go. But we have a more scientific opinion poll out right now by that same pollster I discussed earlier. That was out last week. I get results tomorrow, and we'll find out. What do people think? You know, if it's based on those results, if it looks like that's something that a good majority of people are interested in, we would then go to council on June 17th with a proposed ballot statement to say, would you like to ask, they're not making the tax, they're just saying to the voters, do you want this, yes or no? That's all it is.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's going to be some no's. At least 40% of people are going to vote no. I get that, but that's all that's being decided on June 17th. But again, if the voters don't want it, they don't get it, and then council has to have tough conversations about how and if they're going to fund those priorities. So I'm not here to convince anybody to vote for anything. That's absolutely not my job. My job is to take community feedback, opinions, and make a recommendation to council that's informed in a way that they can use their representative responsibilities to make decisions. So with that, I already saw one question come up, and okay, go ahead.
All right, hit me with your best shot.
Yeah, hit me with your best shot. That's right.
So, is this part of Measure X, or is this in a separate and in addition to?
This is separate and in addition to. So you're referring to Measure X, which is a current half-cent sales tax. That provides a lot, and that's what I talked about last time I was here, if you were here. I don't have that presentation, but that funds a lot of programs and a lot of infrastructure. In fact, it goes into our pavement management program. That's what's keeping when I said our roads are no longer getting worse, they're just staying the same C- that they are, that's what's keeping that from going down. It's also funded things like the fire training tower, Fire Station 1. That's where the $25 million that we currently have for the Pierview Bridge comes from. So it's doing a lot of good, and people like it. It was very favorable. 70% of people said that they wanted that in the last, and we're just saying, well, okay, we're doing a great job with that. In fact, we got the San Diego County Taxpayers Association endorsement on that, and we're asking for it. We would ask for that on this to see if that's something they would support. And what they like is that we have a lot of oversight. We have a whole citizens oversight committee that makes sure that we're spending the money on what we said that we would spend it on. It has its own independent audit. It's tracked separately, and we would do all of those things. But yes, this is in addition to Measure X. Thank you. That's a good question.
What would that make our tax rate then?
Oh, God. 0.5 cent more than what it is now,
Which
which is below the state average.
Right.
I believe that would take it to 8.75, and the state average is 8.8. So,
Michael,
yes.
Is that the same oversight committee? Would that be the same as the Measure X committee, or totally two separate things?
So this is what I would say is that that's still technically up in the air for what the council would decide. What my recommendation would be is, because you've already got it, it's already hard enough to seat these committees. What I would recommend to council is using the same committee where they could review the spending plans at the same meeting, but I would expand that committee by 2 more members, and I would add a coastal representative of some sort to that body, in addition to an at-large member, to expand the scope of expertise that's on that committee. But I think it wouldn't be necessary to create a whole new one, but I think you could accomplish both with the one that currently exists.
So question,
Sure.
I think Measure X got such good approval because it was specifically project focused,
Yes.
with a committee to make sure it stayed focused.
Yes.
Are you proposing a 0.5% sales tax to go into general fund,
No.
or to stay project focused?
What I'm proposing is very similar to Measure X, with a different set of projects that would go into the spending plan. One thing that I want to be very clear about that's different from Measure X, we would really be recommending that these be focused on infrastructure. Whereas Measure X is a mix of very good programs, including an EMT program, a medic program, things that are doing a lot of good in the community, but they're programmatic, they're positions. We would really be strongly recommending to council that this be focused solely on infrastructure, only capital. And one of the things that we would seek to do is actually use this money. So like you have, let's say you have a $50 million project. You're only gonna get $20 million a year out of this tax. Only, I know that's a lot of money. But let's say, stick with me. You're only gonna get $20 million a year. Well, you need to do this $50 million project. What you can do is you can go out and bond for that, using this revenue as a security for that bond. The other thing that does is that ensures, because you cannot spend bond money, it's against our state's constitution to spend bond money on non-capital projects. We would have to use that towards capital projects. So that is staff's strong recommendation, that it would have a spending plan similar to Measure X, but just as strict with the same level of oversight. Does that answer that question?
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I would say that these types of improvements are necessary. The longer we wait, the more it's gonna cost, right?
Yes.
So the question is, how do you do it? And so from my standpoint, if you're asking a question between the two different types, I go sales tax because I think, one, the folks that generally pay the most aren't necessarily the same group of people that would be hit with the bond.
Mhm.
So the visitors, people from outside the community. And two separate reasons for those that live here. One, you feel like you can get out of it if you need to go somewhere else to buy something. But also, the impact isn't that great to those that live here. And I think that it's a good idea to do a sales tax.
Okay, well, that's feedback I'll take back. Thank you.
And a question, was it Josh that's doing the work, the survey? Josh Williams?
No, it's the name of the firm is True North, and the pollster is Tim McClarty. He's a PhD. He did the poll for the original Measure X. He did the poll and the tracking poll. So 2 polls for the Measure X renewal, and he did the poll in November. So he was within 2 to 3% on all of those other. So
Very good.
And if you know, one of the things that not to get too nerdy about it, but one of the things I appreciate about his polling, and I'm just watching, last time I went too long. So the one of the things he does is he asks tough questions that like as staff you're like, don't ask that, but he puts people, he says, he gives the counter argument against it to really see what people feel about it, and that's proven to be a pretty accurate way to poll. So
One question.
sure.
It's not quick, but it's an important one.
Okay.
Along with asking for more money via tax,
Mm-hmm.
what is being done to create efficiencies in how current money is being spent?
Yeah, so we're always looking for ways to do that, to reorganize, like, for example, one of the most recent reorganizations studies that we did was in our housing department. We want to make sure that we're operating as efficiently as possible, so we're always looking at ways to do that. And I can tell you, as somebody that's worked in government, and I say this sincerely, Oceanside runs lean. Our city manager's office has, 6 people?
I think we have the same number of
Yeah,
people.
I do my own copies, I make my own appointments, we run very lean at the city, I think sometimes too lean. Sometimes I think that you can almost be penny wise and pound foolish that way, but let me give you a couple more examples of ways that we seek to leverage these money. So originally Measure X was supposed to pay for the new bathrooms, the police substation, and the grand staircase coming down from Mission at the beach. Because we committed the funds, we went to the state and we said we'd like some help with this. They ended up funding almost all of it. Another one was with our Fire Station 1. That was originally a $17.5 million project. We funded all of it, but then we went to the Department of Defense and said, is there any way you can help with this? And they gave us $3.5 million because we showed that we were committed. And that showed and by we being committed, that's really we, the community, right? That's everybody in the city. That's how the federal and state government looks at it. So when they say, okay, you've already set aside $25 million for this bridge, Bearview Bridge, which we recognize is super important and iconic to the whole North Coast region or North County region, they are more likely to put that money forward. If you, trust me, I've seen this too many times. People go hat in hand to DC or Sacramento and they say, well, what are you guys putting up? And they're like, we don't, I ain't got nothing. They won't give you the money. You have to show that you as a community are committed to this and you want it. That's how they know it's an important project. Yes?
Did you say that this tax would just only be for 10 years?
It would only be for 10 years, yes. Yeah.
That's audited?
And it's audited every year, just like Measure X is audited separately every year. It has its own audit every year, its own oversight committee, yeah. And it's only 10 years because I think that lets the public know, look, we're not asking you to just bail us out. We have this like very discrete set of projects that we want to accomplish that betters the whole community, right? Another example of money, of something that we've done that we think about all the time, like you think about Fire Station 1, yes, that's public safety, that's sort of underlying infrastructure, but we also look at ways to enhance the quality of life, right? So we put $2.5 million of Measure X into El Corazon Park Site 1, so that way we can get that park for the whole community. I mean, those are the kind of things that we're looking to do to sort of enhance quality of life. Great questions. You guys, you have
We're sharp here.
yeah.
And we do have a YouTube channel, Michael, that on OCNA 101 on YouTube. So that when he spoke about Measure X or some of the prior meetings, you can find us under OCNA, and if you can fast forward through it if there's things you don't
Yeah,
want.
and I'm happy to come back. But Carolyn had another question.
Yeah, two full questions.
Okay, sure.
So, who sets the priority,
Mm-hmm.
and then do you, if it's approved, do you split that between all the projects, or do you pick a priority and say, okay, this is going to fix the pier?
Yeah.
Or,
No, it would be, so, the council sets the priorities, and they would, to a degree, they would be set orderly. Like, they would be like, this is the number one priority, this is the number two priority. Some of that, though, is like, it's not necessarily about priorities, like what's ready to go. Like, Fire Station 8 is ready to go. We own the land, we have the designs, we just need money for construction. So that would likely be toward the top of the list, but it would be spread across the priorities, and the priorities would be set by council. Does that?
Yep.
Okay.
And then with, the projected income from this tax revenue, because you just do the math, that gives you the leverage to put it, to ask people for matching funds or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, $20 million a year, roughly over 10 years is $200 million. If you go out and use that to leverage funding for today,
Right.
that's $180 million in cash, roughly, to do projects that you can start doing right away.
Right.
So since you have the land and everything for the fire station,
Yeah.
how much money would you say you need in order to go hat in hand to Sacramento or Washington and say pay for the rest?
You need the majority. Most of the time, you're not going to get more than we were lucky to get $3.5 million from DC for a $17.5 million project. That ratio is kind of what you can expect. They want to see the majority paid for by the local community, and then they come in and help you backfill.
Okay, one question, if you know, what is the ratio of funding to the state per what we receive as the city? How much do we get to the state? How much do they take and then leave us what's left over?
Oh, out of a half cent? Out of an additional or the total sales tax?
Just total sales tax?
I don't know that off the top of my head. I can say this. The half cent, and this is one of the nice parts about it, it all comes back to the city. The state doesn't take any of those. Now, the total amount that I think we said was 8.75, yeah, the state takes a chunk of that. San Diego County takes a chunk of that. Sandag probably takes a chunk of that. NCTD probably takes a chunk of that. But the ones that the local people elect to impose on themselves, all of it comes back to Oceanside. Does that, I know that doesn't directly answer your question, and I don't know the answer to that, to be honest.
But out of the 7.75 that is the state taxes, we get whatever, but the whole penny we would be getting, we get.
Yeah.
Generally, out of the Bradley Burns, you'll get 1 cent back.
Okay.
to the local municipality, and the rest go to
There
others,
you go,
primarily
we got
the
the right
state.
guy in the room. See?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, as you know, we are good friends with a lot of the city, people and council people, and they, really appreciate our neighborhood group. So, as this continues, do you have a timeline of when this might happen, or
So,
public vote, or what?
the big question is, tomorrow, I get the polling back from our consultant, and that will be kind of the go, no-go decision for June 17th. Then on June 17th, council will decide, and it has to be a vote of 4, at least 4 members have to say that they'll do it. It can't be, normally it's 3, but for this it has to be 4. Do we want to put that on the ballot? We would then put the machine into the works to put that on the ballot for November. At that point, I'm kind of out of it because I'm legally restricted from doing it, just like now. I'm not telling you to vote for anything. I'm legally restricted from advocating for it. What you would likely see is a community group that has an interest in seeing that happen, and I don't know who that group is. They might step up and say, we want to encourage other people to vote for that. And that's where you see campaigning come from. You don't see it come from the government, but you see it come from locals. So, yeah. But then the election's on November 3rd, I think, something like that. November, first Tuesday in November.
Well, great, okay, so
Thank you.
as things progress, we'll get an update, I'm sure, and, if no more questions, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sure you do. Good to see you.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, thank you.
It just went off.
Is your power cord on for?
Yeah, I can, it's,
No,
She's ready to go, it's just.
no, it looks like the power didn't go on here, your little power thing there, so maybe the power might have gone off somewhere else, so. It's come off over here.
Technical difficulties, so while they're figuring it out, does anybody, what do you guys think of it? Like, if you had to vote today, would you vote to support this additional tax for these specific priorities?
Depending on the priority.
Yeah, I need to see the details, but sales tax
Says
would
here
be
got
the way to
power
go.
there, so I don't know.
I see a lot of heads nodding. I think for me personally, what I like about a sales tax versus a bond is that it goes over more
So I was looking
people
to see if you were like, it's like here and
and
it
not
wasn't,
just
so.
the property owners, and that's, and we get a lot of visitors. And it goes on to everything from whatever, dinners out or things like that, which means that the burden on us as residents is less. But we get the benefit, so that's kind of how my mind works. And while they're getting set up, all of you are current members? Yeah, good. If you're not and you'd like to help us out, again, we're volunteer, we're all neighbors, but we've been in business here for 24 years. Not me, I mean, I've been around for over 10, but yeah, they started this back. Yeah, 24 years, can you imagine? And so we actually make a difference for the downtown residents. And we have, other groups that are saying, we go from Mission to Oceanside Boulevard, the coast, to, the freeway. But north of Mission, they all wanna join us, and it's like, okay, but we can't support you up there, help do your own thing. Or Capistrano across the freeway, they wanna join us, and it's like, we'd love to
The
grow.
membership fee is $40 a year, and
Yeah.
what it does is pays for our directors and officers insurance, our liability insurance, and those premium flyers. And then we also, every December, since the school lets us use this room for 8 meetings a year, we collect donations for a Christmas basket for one of their underprivileged families, and then we try to match.
So membership $40 a year, and that supports the neighborhood group. What he just said was it helps pay for the paper and getting the newsletters out. Nobody gets paid, it's all just, and we have to have insurance for the school to have these meetings here, so it pays for that too, so, if you can, and, like what we do, please help us. And Kurt has some, or wait, Lane has information about membership.
And then on the green flyers, there's a Venmo if you use that for, you take a check, cash.
Okay, Michelle, take us away.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Michelle Geller. I'm the Economic Development Manager for the City of Oceanside. And my presentation is highlights from the past year or so, and then some exciting projects coming down the pipeline. First, I'll start with a little education about what we do in economic development. So I have the California flag here because, as you can see on the California flag, there is a bear. And BEAR is an acronym we throw around a lot in economic development, which stands for business expansion, attraction, and retention. So not in that order is how we prioritize these things. And basically, retention is our number one priority. We provide direct business assistance. So businesses can surprise you with a variety of challenges and opportunities that come up, whether that's, can you write a letter of support for a grant we're going for, or can you address transient activity, on our property. We also serve as liaison through development services, when projects are going through the entitlement process or applying for permits, we can often kind of help shepherd things through. It can be kind of complicated. We provide assistance if businesses are looking to locate here in Oceanside or expand here. We have a subscription to the commercial multi-listing service, which shows us all the available property. We do marketing and outreach, so we have robust social media. Please follow us on Instagram and LinkedIn and Facebook, where we promote our local businesses, and we do different small business spotlights. We also could not do what we do. Our division in the city is myself and one other person. To give you some perspective there, back when California redevelopment agencies were alive and well, this was pre-2010, when the state was giving millions of dollars to city to do projects, the economic development department was 16 people, and now we're 2. So we couldn't do what we do without our partners in the community, like Visit Oceanside, the Chamber, Main Street, and our regional partners. So I'm going to start kind of big picture here with the general plan. So the city's general plan is essentially the blueprint for development and how to make sure that all Oceanside residents, businesses, and visitors have a great experience. So intentionally, the city approved the economic development element of the general plan as part of its comprehensive update first. So that was approved back in 2019, which is quite young by general plan standards. And these 4 buckets here that you can see, new growth, housing needs, public services, and environmental protection, are the buckets that everything in the general plan essentially looks at to enhance quality of life for Oceanside. If you go to onwardoceanside.com, which you may have already done, we have had a comprehensive general plan update underway. It's a massive undertaking. There are parts of our land use, zoning codes that haven't been updated since the 80s. So this is something that cities do not too often, but when they do, it's a big job. And we're almost ready. By the end of the year, that should be approved. So back to the economic development element, there are 4 buckets that everything that we do in economic development fall under. And they are quality of life, prosperity, resilience, and collaboration. So as I go through these projects and the city initiatives and services, you'll kind of see that all of these things do fall under one of these 4 categories. And to kind of emphasize that the success that Oceanside is experiencing now did not just happen by accident. It happened very intentionally through the vision of our city leaders decades ago who had the audacity to think that Oceanside could be what it is now 20 years ago. So one of the things I'll talk about is the 9-block master plan for Oceanside, downtown Oceanside, which was approved 26 years ago in the year 2000. So between 2000 and now, think of what has happened. We had 9/11. we had the Great Recession, we had a global pandemic. These are not things that help cities progress in their efforts, but still we prevailed. So sometimes it was 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But now that and this is on our website if you want to check it out more closely. But all the lots and the proposed projects are now coming to fruition, as I'm sure you've all experienced. The transformation of downtown Oceanside. I mentioned Onward Oceanside, so do check that out. Right now, it's in the final stages of review. I think the public comment has closed. Michael talked about Measure X, so I included it here because, as you know, in order to do important projects, we need money, and you are no strangers to the city. I think we've done a good job passing Measure X, and then also being really diligent about publicizing the performance measures as we go. It's paid, what it paid for, and the success, which I think shows in that second vote being much, quite a majority of Oceanside residents voting for it, 69%. This is a breakdown of city revenue. So most of our revenue at the city comes from property taxes, and the Measure X has been a huge help for the city. We also get much more transient occupancy taxes, which is the taxes that visitors to Oceanside pay when they stay at a hotel or a short-term vacation rental. That's gone up quite significantly over the past 15 years. And then we get a little bit of tax from Ocean's 11 card room, which is kind of one of those grandfathered in interesting uses that not a lot of cities have. This is just it's probably not super easy to see, but this is kind of a Q3 2024 versus 2025, and as you can see, I don't have to tell you, you won't be surprised that a lot of the sales tax has remained flat, but Oceanside, unlike many areas, has actually done even a little better in restaurants and hotels. So it just shows, I think, that we've really created kind of a brand for ourselves as a destination in the county for restaurants and accommodations. So on the topic of, shopping local and economic incentives, the city has only done 2 economic incentive deals since we were incorporated in 1888. One was for the beach resorts in downtown Oceanside. So the city owned the lots that the resorts were built on, so they made a deal with the developer, and we are paying back the developer some of the taxes that they generate, and that was to entice them to build that resort. And so far, I actually am bringing the 5-year update on that subsidy to council next month, and it has surpassed every measure that we forecast in terms of revenue and also jobs created. So it's been a really successful deal. And then CarMax, this is Desmond Geller, my son, purchasing his first car at CarMax here in Oceanside, shop local. But that was another incentive deal we did. Oceanside, unfortunately, doesn't have a Carlsbad Car Country or a Escondido Auto Mall. So we needed to kind of incentivize CarMax, which is a great dealership. As you know, it's pre-owned cars, that it tends to be somewhat recession-proof, and a great generator of sales tax. So this one, interestingly, has kind of met our forecast, maybe not quite met our forecast in things like jobs, but it just shows, this incentive deal with CarMax was done in 2018. Who could have known the changes that would happen in terms of how we buy cars today and things like that. So it's just interesting to see. You can forecast all day, but when the reality happens, you kind of take it as it comes. I've heard an economist say one time that economic forecasting is like driving a car while only looking in your rearview mirror, and I always thought we do our best on the forecasting. Back to some cool improvements that are going to be happening over the next year or two. Council allocated in this last budget cycle a little over $500,000 to do an archway sign in downtown Oceanside. So I believe engineering has identified a firm to design that. We don't know where it will be yet. We still need to have the firm look at all the, where the footings will go and all the infrastructure requirements. But, it'll be cool to have that because a lot of the cities have one. We don't have one yet. Another thing that the city did that had, kind of revenue generation in mind, this was in 2019, we approved a property business improvement district for downtown Oceanside. So this is an assessment on properties. Commercial properties pay the highest because it's sort of the theory that they're going to benefit the most. And what it is extra services downtown, like extra security, extra cleaning, things that enhance the area, extra power washing to make it attractive for visitors and residents alike. And that generates initially around $350,000 a year. It was expanded and reapproved and kind of doubled in size, so kind of showing the support that the downtown folks have for it. Rebeach, I won't get more into that, but you're familiar with the sand retention and beach replenishment efforts that the city is doing. Downtown water sewer replacement is underway. Beachfront improvements phase 2, which will include the band shell and the Junior Seau Community Center, is under environmental review right now, and we expect to have construction documents by next year. Coast Highway Corridor Improvements is a project that will essentially bring Coast Highway down to one lane in either directions, dedicated bike lane. They call it the term road diet isn't being thrown around as much as it was before, but essentially slowing down the traffic on Coast Highway. For any of you who have ever dined at one of our lovely Coast Highway establishments and had to pause in your conversation because some motorcycle was jamming down Coast Highway super loud, then you know why we're doing that.
Can we rename it Hill Street?
I mean, and then the Gossman electric vehicle shuttle is still up and running. We had a Sandag grant that unfortunately ran out, but it still runs Wednesday through Sunday, 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. year round. For those of you who are not familiar, you summon it like an Uber or Lyft on an app called Ride Circuit, and it's just $3 a person. Anywhere, $6 maximum. Anywhere west of the 5, all the way from Harbor down to Vista Way. Pier restoration efforts are underway. As you know, there was a fire in 2024, and I can't believe it's been 2 years since that happened. And so they hope to fully restore the pier by the end of next year. Pure Water Oceanside, I'm sure you're familiar. The city of Oceanside is the only city in San Diego County that has a truly recycled water system, and that's part of the resilience effort that the city really focused on the last 10 years to ensure that we had, a reliable source of clean drinking water. Sci-Fi Networks is laying fiber throughout the city as well to make sure everyone in the city has access to reliable broadband. And now I'll get into the projects that I'm sure you've all heard about. I know you've been very active in advocating for and getting the OTC, Oceanside Transit Center project, to really lean into community benefits and public art. So as you're aware, there's an 11-acre site downtown owned by North County Transit District that will be 547 residential units, a hotel, a new office headquarters for North County Transit District, which, the downtown businesses and restaurants especially, they really need that kind of daytime employee traffic. So that'll be great to have hundreds of additional employees working down there. The Griego Theater site at 401 Mission Avenue has also been approved, and that will be 332 apartments and about 1,900 square feet of commercial on the ground floor. These blocks 5 and 20 were the last blocks in that 9-block master plan I mentioned to be approved. I believe just in January it was approved, and it's 2 buildings, 193 units in one and 180 units in the other on Myers Street. 901 Mission was approved last fall. That's 8 stories and 273 apartments. That's the vacant lot across from Oceanside High School. This is 810 Mission. This is North County Transit District's current headquarters that will be demoed and made into 206 residential units.
That's by the B of A.
Yeah.
B
12C days is a 100% affordable project with 109 studio units. It's currently under construction. Madeira Neptune, the former Motel 6, Oceanside Police Department is not sad to see that one being demolished right now. And that will be 360 apartments in addition to a 62-room hotel. And Alta Oceanside was one of the first large-scale mixed-use projects to finish at the former main attraction on Coast Highway. Now, that looks like a lot. It is. It's over 1,500 new units coming online. But I will remind everyone that we have a major transit hub right here that connects Oceanside to San Diego, to Los Angeles, east to Escondido with the Sprinter line. And transit-oriented development is, a high-density product. And so far, vacancies, in the existing product downtown are very low. It's the restaurants and the businesses in downtown Oceanside. Getting a CVS in a downtown is a sign that you now have the concentration of humans. Retail doesn't just locate and hope that humans come. They want to be where the people are, like the Little Mermaid. And so, these are high density projects that are really required to support the commercial activity downtown and get higher and better users for all of us to enjoy. I will go into a couple you wouldn't think this is economic development, but it really is. So I think of economic development, if you're familiar with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? The pyramid, and on the bottom is just like food and shelter, kind of the very basics. And I equate like our police and fire departments are there. You want a safe community, and economic development really don't bother if you don't have public works and you have streets that don't have potholes and things like that. So these HEART enhancements, and we're referring to HEART now, homeless evaluation, assistance, and response, are really important aspects to our community, where the rising tide lifts all boats. And so I included this here because we just added some enhancements to our homeless response. There will be more day-to-day engagement with social workers on hand. It won't just be OPD responding to these types of individuals. And we have our navigation center now open. We have a safe parking program now open. We are working to address encampments along the Buena Vista Creek area. And then Coast Villas is a new affordable housing project at 1111 South Coast Highway, focused on 55 and over veterans that will have wraparound services. So these are important aspects to Oceanside that will ensure that our folks are taken care of. So now I'm going to cruise through the new and new small businesses throughout Oceanside that are popping up like crazy. So we have a new Better Buzz at 1004 Mission Avenue in the Mission Square Shopping Center, and then another Better Buzz on Coast Highway that I didn't picture here. Beer Garden Oceanside, this is their second location. They have another location in Encinitas where the Lab Collaborative was located. Blade Shanghai is adjacent to Blade, the Italian place, and same owner, and I am told we have very good food by my coworker.
Really good.
Cats and Crystals Cat Cafe. Do you want to pet cats and have coffee and buy crystals? So this is a very popular spot at 510 North Coast Highway. Guahan Grill. This is an additional location on Mission Avenue next to Flying Pig. Crispy Burger, another second location. I think Oceanside has been really good at attracting, not the corporate users. Those might be in our kind of more strip centers, but the downtown has attracted, not necessarily one-offs, but maybe they have another location like down in San Diego or up in Orange County, and those tend to be really successful because they kind of have cult followings and really, robust social media. So that I would say falls into this category. Freeman Street Surf Studio at 208 North Freeman. Fiore Paper Company, it's an former Petite Madeline. Petite was one of the first restaurants to come into downtown Oceanside, thanks to the city of Oceanside, identifying them as a cool user 10 years ago to kind of kick off the restaurant scene downtown. So they were done, they were tired, they were ready to get out of the business, and so Catalan Coast is a really cool user. They have another location on Grand Avenue in Escondido, and I think we'll carry on the tradition of serving great food and coffee there. Key and Cleaver is a little pop-up in the Regal Theater where Breakwater Brewing was, and it's burgers, and they do have another location down in San Diego. Kung Fu Tea at 605 Mission Avenue. Little Fawn in the Finn Hotel, formerly Switchboard, and Oceanside Art Collective at 427 South Coast Highway. Odie's Pizza at 121 North Cleveland. It's the folks who have Board and Brew. OG Juice, Wisconsin here. Pop-up bagels. I don't know if you've seen all the craziness around pop-up bagels. There were lines around the block when they opened, I believe over the weekend.
Last Friday.
But yeah, they fill like a bowl with like schmear, and then there's like all these crazy bagels, and yeah, they have like celebrities. Bagels are back, people. Forget the those like low carb diets. Bagels are back.
Where's that at?
It's in the Freeman Collective at Vista Way and Coast Highway. Rad Juice Bar on Cleveland. Rat Star Oceanside. It's like a consignment, secondhand. Very excited about the Oceanside History Center's new location, right across from City Hall on Civic Center Drive. Second Nature Trading in right along Artist Alley, Side Street Bowls and Smoothies on Cleveland. The Fish Shop, which has several locations around the San Diego area. It's on Coast Highway where Rise and Grind was, next to LTH. The Flower Chapel in Artist Alley. Tika Tika, which was formerly Curry and Warren. Kind of to Jane's point, there were some folks on social media talking about why Oceanside businesses are just closing. Well, there is a business cycle typically. I think during and shortly after COVID, small businesses maybe got some specials on leases because things were very strange. And so I think we're seeing, maybe they had a 5-year lease or a 6-year lease, and those are now coming up, and for a variety of reasons, maybe someone wants to get out of the business, or more often than not, the landlord wants to raise the rent, and the business is not too fond of that. But we monitor vacancy rates very closely, and we are not seeing any change or increase in the vacancy rates. A business leaves and a new business comes right in. And the vacant properties that you're seeing that are unfortunately rather prominent are not ones that are being marketed very well or really actively listed for being occupied. So I am confident that Oceanside, it's not the market at all that is affecting any type of business closures. And in fact, we're getting more businesses coming in. And there's a fun aspect to having new things to try. Yoga Box on Cleveland, went there, did classes, very hot, very hard. Ann's Gate D5, Ann's Gelato, they have a few locations around San Diego. I'm very excited about this one. This is in the Top Gun House at the resorts, which was formerly High Pie. And they also, lines around the block, they take you on a flavor journey when you go in of their flavors that change once a month. And I predict lines around the block also. Demasi's Mediterranean Buffet is opening in the Strip Center on Vista Way in the El Camino North Shopping Center. We have our second Ace Hardware location. Ace Hardware is a cool little story. The one on Coast Highway here is owned by a young man by the name of Logan who served in the military. He worked at the Ace on Coast as a high school student, went off, served in the military, went to college, came back, bought the Ace Hardware, and now he has opened a second location. So he's building the Ace Hardware empire here in Oceanside. He's a really good kid, and I am very heartened by, no shade on Home Depot or those, but it's nice to go into your neighborhood Ace and chat and buy stuff there. Tierra Mia Coffee is another spot. I believe their other spots are only in Orange County. This is the first one in San Diego County. They are, I believe, Cuban inspired and excellent coffee. This place is just super busy all the time. Highly recommend going and checking it out. Soda Poppin', I think they're from Utah, and they do something called like dirty soda, and so this is another place to get your sugar fix. Copper Kings in the former Northern Pine, in the shopping market Mission Square. Copper Kings is known for their burgers. They have a spot in San Marcos, so they should be opening soon. And Eucalyptus Grove, you probably noticed in South O, the shopping center that's undergoing renovations. It's gonna look really nice. Okay, so I think that concludes the kind of small business openings. I'll go through a few more public expansions. Miracosta College has 6 new buildings on campus. If you haven't seen them, I highly recommend. They actually have, their STEM labs are so state-of-the-art. They actually have a DNA sequencer there on site, and they are essentially replicating what the students would do if they worked at Genentech or some large biotech manufacturing firm. And we have an excellent pipeline set up for those almost done. The Tri-City and Sharp Healthcare Partnership, Measure H, is going to voters in June. We have, Michael mentioned El Corazon Park Site 1. The Front Wave Arena celebrated its 1-year anniversary last September, and the Royal Verde Retail Center popped up nearby, which shows kind of how the arena is an economic driver. Genentech just will soon unveil their $450 million expansion, where they have a LEED Platinum certified building. Ocean Camp is still underway. They're working through some infrastructure things. PSA, the new fireworks ordinance begins June 2026, and the fire department's going to be pretty hardcore about it, and they're going to send drones out if you have a fireworks complaint. And that concludes my presentation. Feel free to email me or call me if you ever have any questions.
Michelle? Yeah. What's happening with the Flying Bridge property?
The Flying Bridge property. Nothing right now that I think. I don't think they've submitted plans for anything. Yeah.
Well, we talked about potentially 3,000 new people moving in because over 1,500 places.
At least, yeah.
Yeah, at least. So that's going to bring in a lot more. I mean, we're saying, yeah, it's going to be great. They'll use public transportation. But this is Southern California. They're all going to have cars. And now we're talking about more congestion. And we're slimming down the street, which I know there's a very good reason. Great. And then we're also killing parking for that. But we also rely, with the extra sales tax, on the tourists. But if there's nowhere to park, we lose some of the tourists who'd rather go somewhere else where there's better parking. And then also, these people, if they really do use public transportation, then they're looking for somewhere to maybe grocery shop. But we don't have any. Do we have plans to bring grocery stores in and closer, where all these people that are there that we're expecting to use public transportation can walk to the shop?
Well, are you done?
No, yeah, I am. Sorry. That
Okay,
was
sorry, I didn't want to interrupt you. So is your question about the grocery store?
all of the above. Do we have plans for more parking? Do we have plans for more convenience stores where people, grocery stores where people can shop because we're expecting them to not drive? So I'm thinking 2 ends of the spectrum, but they all affect us.
So the residential projects downtown, which the city now, you're probably aware, has had most of our power to limit density. Pretty much the state dictates, like, you gotta build housing. All the projects downtown are parked to the required standards, and some are providing additional parking. A grocery store would be challenged downtown because there just isn't the dirt. We have the Walmart neighborhood market is probably the closest. If a grocery store wanted to come downtown, we would absolutely be very happy to see that. There others talk about, I know the Rite Aid has been looked at, but you gotta have the space. I don't think for downtown Oceanside, I think a supermarket would probably be okay with limited parking, similar to how the CVS was. But yeah, parking is gonna be a challenge. We don't have flying cars like they predicted 20 years ago. So, you know, it is gonna be, it's dense, it's high density, yes.
There's no stopping, you just go and can't.
We have 1 minute, so that's 2 questions, if you're quick.
I wonder, are you aware in the city planning desalination factory or something? Because all these people come, the water, the businesses, the restaurants, it would be so much more water needs to be. And about water problem generally on the planet. And so is city talking about potential to build desalination like Carver has?
Oh, desal. No, I don't think desal has been talked about. I mean, those take so long. But the pure water Oceanside that I mentioned is definitely, you know, we have a very diverse, San Diego's been really good about diversifying our water sources. So pure water, like I said, we're the only city in the county to even have that. So it definitely helps for Oceanside's water needs, for sure.
But it will be enough for people to have water? Generally.
Yes, people way smarter than me have figured that out. Yes. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if I can add to some of the questions that you had, with regard to parking, there have been parking plans. But now, since all of the downtown sites have been approved and the quantity thereby known, the council has directed the downtown advisory group to come up with a specific plan that addresses parking, traffic, noise, this and that. Okay, so there's 5 things, I don't remember all of them. Pardon me?
Oh, I'm just,
Okay, so the idea is to take what was done and like pull it together and say, does this make sense anymore? If not, then get it reevaluated and then pull it together for council to look at this. So it's being actively looked at. The second thing to consider is the, Michelle, as well as Visit Oceanside, is working diligently to have things like the Gosside shuttle that will aid in this. Now, if you've ever rode it, it's a lot of fun. Again, it's just this ride circuit app. They come, they're very quick. They'll take you up to Walmart, they'll take you down to Fraser Farms. And then along Coast Highway to the harbor down to the lagoon. So it's available, and the more we use it, the more hours that they will have. So these are things that, again, it's a $6 minimum, $3 a person, $6 max. So if you've got a family of 5, it's $6.
How many shuttles are there?
Well, there's the more that we have, the more.
I mean, how many do we have now?
I think there's 4 shuttles right now. So, but when they first started, there was quite a few. So there are things that are coming that are trying to help with some of this. Oh my God! But it's not here yet. As the units are not here yet either. So.
And I
Just put it in
Jane, to you, I would encourage,
organization. We've been working for the last 7 or 8 years diligently with both the city and the developers to address exactly these problems. So, join
Yeah.
us,
Michelle?
send in your $40 a month.
Yeah, I
get
mean,
insurance,
$40 a year.
I would say definitely, you know,
we'll keep going.
That's $40 a year.
if you wanna stay on top of the projects, we have all this information on our website. And 2, I think it's helpful to, if you haven't checked out Sandag's population forecasts for our cities, it's flat, and it is actually expected to decrease. So, you know, it sounds like a lot of people are just like gonna be like coming into Oceanside, and that's not really how it's
Yeah,
gonna
it'll be
kind
a
of
slow migration.
shake out. So, you know, I get it. It's wow, it's a lot, but it's kind of it's just that the density is in places where there's transit, and that's,
So, you know, let's just hang on to our hats. We'll see how it all goes. But know that OCNA works actively with every aspect of the city to try to mitigate the impacts. And one update that we have, I double checked with, Michael the last time he was here about the increases of the capital improvement budget that was just passed, that they are, they did hire four new police, and how that will work, according to the chief that he checked with, the police chief, is those will come in, and then others can come and be more traffic-oriented cops that we have been asking for. And this is from the chief of police lips to my ears. Okay, so we're not having all this middleman people. Thank you, Michelle, appreciate it. So yeah, there's things that are happening, and we're working diligently almost every week of the month to try to work with the city on how we can help mitigate some of these impacts that we're feeling. Noise, traffic, speeding, of course, Coast Highway redevelopment will impact that by pulsing traffic, but what we can do, we're doing. So join us.
Did you hear about whether or not they got the funding to actually start the project with all the traffic circles?
Yes, they did. They got the funding for the Coast Highway that's starting at the north end, Neptune, working its way down to Civic Plaza. But they postponed it because the city manager, Jonathan Borrego, asked to see if we could get an additional grant to do the landscaping at the same time. So it wasn't just all concrete, that we could have the picture complete. Are you familiar with it? Okay, so the Coast Highway redevelopment plan is gonna take from the freeway, 76 interchange there, right off the freeway of 5, all the way down to Vista Way. And it's gonna take sections, and it's going to change it, increasing sidewalks sometimes, changing certain intersections, adding traffic circles, adding foliage and different medial softening effects, adding a bike lane, things like that, that will aid in multimodal transportation. Walking will be more fun because you don't feel like you might get run over. Biking the same, and then also trees and plants and things that will soften all of these hard edges.
Is the bike lane gonna still have parking along it, and then the bike lane? You're not gonna take away the
Some.
curb
You're
parking?
not gonna take any parking.
Okay.
No, yeah, some, but
You know how some
yeah.
cities.
And keep in mind, the transit center, which has those 2 lots, is gonna have more parking in the structure. Keep in mind that across the railroad tracks, as you go west, there's that whole long length from like Wisconsin all the way up to behind the Spring Hill Suites, parking. A lot of people don't know where it is. So in addition to all this, they're doing wayfinding, which is the right kinds of signs in the right places to help people better utilize the parking that we already have. The whole 3-4 stories that are at the Civic Center where council is. The Salt Building that has like 500 parking places, which is just off of Mission going north, the Salt Building, where that underground tunnel is. There's parking being built for all these things. It's just not easy to find if you don't know where it is. So that's another wayfinding that we're gonna be doing along with that city Oceanside sign. All good questions, so much happening, so thanks for coming. Now, we won't have a meeting next month, as you know, we take the summer off, most of you do too. So we'll see you back in September, we're hoping to have the representative.
Hopefully, we're trying to get Lori Davies, our local assemblywoman.
Yeah.
Just
We have
hoping.
some tentative commitments, but of course, it's been away, a while in the future, so we wanna firm all that up. But look out for your green flyers, and if you wanna help us out by becoming a member or volunteering with us, please see any one of the board members, and we'd be glad to get you started. Thank you, and have a great night.
Thank you very much.